In the 16th century, a man with a gold-hooped earring and a little goatee picked up a quill and wrote some of the finest sonnets the world has ever seen. 500 years later, a man with nothing better to do sits down with a microphone and tries to work out what the hell that bloke was going on about. Welcome to the final couplet. Hello there, and welcome back to the final couplet with me, Theo Cowan. This is the podcast where we have a look at sonnets and stuff, mainly from the great author William Shakespeare, who wrote a load of plays that you might have heard of, Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth. He also wrote a load of sonnets that you might not have heard of, and that's why I am doing them all on this podcast. Well then, that was just a little summary there of what the podcast is all about if you're joining us for the first time. I say us, it's just me here. No one else is in the room. So sometimes podcasts have producers and stuff sat around laughing at them, laughing at their jokes and stuff. I don't have that. So there's no feedback. There's no one to encourage me. So sometimes it can get a little bleak in here. Just me and my thoughts. Something new that's happened to me this week before we dive into the latest podcast is that I had an eye test and I need glasses. And so I got them delivered. And here I am, wearing glasses. You can't see this, of course, because it's a podcast, but just imagine a very intellectual looking person. And I wonder if it's going to change how I look at the sonnets now. I wonder if Shakespeare intended the sonnets to be looked at with glasses. Were glasses even a thing back then? That's a question, isn't it? Probably not. Don't know. I actually have no idea. If you know if glasses were a thing in Shakespeare's time, message in, because I can't be bothered to look it up on Google. This would have been a great time for a glasses company to get in contact with me in the podcast so I could plug their company and get some money, but no one did. So I'm not going to shout anyone out. Take that. You could have got customers, but you didn't. Unlucky. Right then, that's enough talking for now. Let's dive into Sonnet 28. Sonnet 28. How can I then return in happy plight that am debarred the benefit of rest? When day's oppression is not eased by night, but day by night and night by day oppressed. And each, though enemies to either's reign, do in consent shake hands to torture me, the one by toil, the other to complain how far I toil, still farther off from thee. I tell the day to please him thou art bright, and dost him grace when clouds do blot the heaven. So flatter I the swart-complexioned night, when sparkling stars twire not, thou gildest the even. But day doth daily draw my sorrows longer, and night doth nightly make grief's length seem stronger. Now, that was nice, but I've got a bone to pick with old William Shakespeare here. And that bone is... This is another one where it follows on from the last sonnet. So would it be so hard, William, to put Sonnet 27 part 1 on your sonnet, on your previous sonnet, and then do this one Sonnet 27 part 2? Why make it Sonnet 28? It's confusing. There's nothing to say that this follows on from 27, but it obviously does. But then people might have got confused and wondered why he started it with how can I then return to, what are you talking about? If they just read 28 in isolation, they went, "Oh, what the hell's going on?" I mean, if I was Shakespeare's editor at the time, which I'm sure he had, probably from Penguin or something like that, I would say, Shakespeare, what's going on here, mate? You can't just release 28 and not tell people that it's part of 27. You can't do that. It's not clear. But Shakespeare was a maverick, I guess, and you couldn't tell him what to do. And that is, partly why we love him. But also this is annoying because he also should have thought about my podcast, because I would have made it clear to you, the listener, that this was a 2-part sonnet, before diving into 28. And don't come at me saying, well, you should have done your research, because yeah, all right, because that's not what I'm trying to say? Exactly. Right. Well, let's have a look at what this all means then, shall we? So, Shakespeare starts Sonnet 28 or Sonnet 27 Part 2 with, "How can I then return in happy plight that am debarred the benefit of rest?" Which means, how can I get my happiness back when I'm being denied rest and sleep? When day's oppression is not eased by night, but day by night and night by day oppressed? You might have noticed that I did a little upwards inflection there because there's a question mark after oppressed. And here he's continuing on his previous question about how he can get back to happiness, because he's saying, I'm knackered during the day because of all the work and stuff, and then I'm knackered at night because I'm not getting any sleep because I'm thinking. Then he continues with, "And each, though enemies to either's reign, do in consent shake hands to torture me, the one by toil, the other to complain how far I toil, still farther off from thee." That's a bit of a longer thought there, but this is talking about night and day that he was harping on about in the last few lines, and in fact in the whole of Sonnet 27. And here he's saying night and day are usually enemies. That's the first I've heard of it. I didn't really ever think of night and day as enemies. I just thought they just coexisted, and I didn't really think of night hating day and day hating night. But I guess if you really think about it, night fights day in the evening and wins, and then day fights night in the morning and wins. Wouldn't it be something if night fought day at one point and then day won, and we just got day for the whole day? I guess that's like those Scandinavian countries that is just day all the time sometimes. And sometimes it's just night all the time, isn't it? Anyway, I guess in those countries, day just wins the battle way more. And night is kind of maybe not as good a fighter. This is a weird analogy, isn't it? But I think that's what Shakespeare meant by this. I think when he was writing this, he was thinking about day and night having a fight every day. Anyway, the point is that in Shakespeare's case, the day and night have decided to put down their swords, shake hands, and torture Shakespeare together. So that in the day, he's tired by work and stuff, and then at night, he's tired by how far away from his love he is. Then he continues with this day and night thing, and he says, "I tell the day to please him, thou art bright, and dost him grace when clouds do blot the heaven." Now here, I think he's talking about his love to the day. So he's having a little chat with the day, and he's saying, my lover, is really bright. Actually, you'd love him. In fact, he's so bright that he takes the place of the sun when the clouds are covering the sky. So he's sort of trying to persuade the day how in love he is and how great his lover is. Then he continues with, "So flatter I the swart-complexioned night, when sparkling stars twine not, thou gildest the even." So obviously, because he's chatted to the day, he has to have a chat with the night. It's only fair. And he's chatting about his lover to the night, to flatter the night. And he's saying his lover brightens the evening sky when the stars don't shine. So he's sort of doing the job of the stars, and that's pretty good, isn't it? Now we're moving on to the final couplet, which is, "But day doth daily draw my sorrows longer, and night doth nightly make grief's length seem stronger." So obviously his chats with the day and night haven't really worked, which is a bummer. And he's saying the day makes his sorrow longer, draws out his sorrow, and the night prolongs his grief and makes it stronger. So he's in a really nightmarish situation where he's getting no rest in the day because he's working. I do want to ask, now it's been the question everyone's wanted to ask, what is Shakespeare doing in a day to make him so tired? I thought he's just a writer. Isn't he just sat at his writing table just writing sonnets? Is that making him knackered? He's not doing manual labour, is he? I guess it would be quite tiring writing Hamlet, I suppose. And, because that's quite a long play and your brain has to be switched on. You have to sort of try and remember all the characters and stuff like that. So no, yeah, I get it. But he's sort of making it sound like he's doing all this manual labour in the day that's making him really tired. Which is maybe what he wants people to think, that he's a man of the people. But really he's just sat at his desk writing. Anyway, as I said about Sonnet 27, this is a weird one to write to your lover. For me. Maybe he didn't intend this to be for his lover, but he's basically just saying how knackered he is. And he's saying that his lover is kind of part of the problem. And it's nice to receive in a way, but the final couplet is always like, so anyway, I'm knackered. I'm really pissed off because of you and all the work I'm doing in the day, and then I get home and I just think about you, and it's really annoying. I don't personally know if I'd want to receive that as a poem from someone particularly. I don't think that would make me feel great about myself. I'd be like, oh, sorry, I didn't want to make you feel tired all the time. That's not, I thought we were getting on. Anyway, Shakespeare thought it was worthy of 2 sonnets, and who are we to judge? The great William Shakespeare. Now, of course, it's that time of the podcast where we put our sonnet to our story. And I personally think the story is really heating up here. Now, if you remember, we've got this storyline going where Shakespeare is sending his cat, Mercutio, between him and a mystery shadowy figure. And the cat is basically delivering their poems back and forth. Poor cat. Must be knackered. Must be more tired than Shakespeare, that's for sure. Maybe the poem's about the cat. Anyway, Shakespeare popped Sonnet 27 onto the cat and sent it off into the night. The cat obviously searched out the shadowy figure, and this time the shadowy figure was in a tavern and has just read Sonnet 27, which was all about, of course, Shakespeare not getting any sleep in the night and being knackered in the day. Let's see what happens next. The shadowy figure finished reading Sonnet 27, picked up their mead and downed it greedily. The shadowy figure lifted his fingers and clicked, requesting another mead from the barman. The barman hurried over, plopped down the mead, spilt a bit on the shadowy figure, and said, "I'm so sorry. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Please don't hurt me." And the shadowy figure looked down at the splatter of mead on his lap, picked up a glove and slapped the poor barman over the head with it. The barman retreated. The shadowy figure read the sonnet again and thought, why am I keeping this person up at night? It's making me feel really bad. This person must be so tired. I mean, I'm personally getting loads of sleep. I'm not thinking about these sonnets or anything at all. And I don't do much in a day, so maybe I don't love this person as much as they love me. I guess I'll send a sonnet back and just explain that I'm not really that tired and I'm not thinking about them that much. Maybe that will sort of put them down lightly, softly. So the shadowy figure pulled out their quill and ink from their pocket and wrote a little letter back that said, "Dear mystery writer, I am sorry to hear that thou hast not been getting much sleep. That maketh me sad. I am pleased to say I am getting a lot of sleep, and the thought of you is not keeping me uppeth at night. Sorry if this cometh as a shock to you, but I am just being honest with thou. Yours faithfully, shadowy figure." And then the shadowy figure snapped their fingers and the cat jumped onto their lap. They attached the little letter to the cat's neck, slapped the cat on the bum, and it ran out of the tavern, all the way back to William Shakespeare, who was waiting eagerly. Shakespeare scooped up Mercutio and ripped the letter from its neck and read. He had to read it a few times, and he thought, well, this takes the piss. So what? I'm up all day and all night and this person isn't tired and isn't even thinking about me. What a joke. It really made him angry, and he paced up and down his living room, back and forth, fuming. His face was going red, but somewhere deep inside him, he still wanted to please the shadowy figure, and he still felt this intense love for the figure. After a nice, calm cup of tea, he went upstairs to bed, but was tossing and turning and couldn't get to sleep because he was still thinking of the shadowy figure. And what made it worse was he was thinking of the shadowy figure asleep soundly in bed, snoring, dreaming of other things, not him. And so he ran downstairs, grabbed his quill, and wrote Sonnet 28 in a fury, in a frenzy. And he picked up the poor sleeping Mercutio, groggy-eyed, and attached the sonnet to Mercutio's neck. Initially, Mercutio refused to go because they were so tired. But Shakespeare shouted, "Get out and deliver the message, God damn you!" And Mercutio reluctantly put on his little boots that he'd bought recently and went out into the night, thinking, I must join a union. Mercutio ran and ran, trying to find the shadowy figure, before eventually finding them slumped over, pissed out of their mind, in a gutter. Mercutio started licking the shadowy figure's cheek to wake them up. They went, "Oh, what's that? Who's that then? Who's that? What?" And Mercutio started meowing in the shadowy figure's ears. Eventually, the shadowy figure realised it was Mercutio and took the sonnet from Mercutio's neck. "Oh no, not another one. I hope this isn't about them getting all tired and wanting to sleep again. It's boring." Then they reluctantly opened up Sonnet 28 and read. Sonnet 28. As I was saying in my last sonnet, how can I return to my happy state if I'm being prevented from getting any rest? When the oppression I get in the day isn't eased by any sleep at night, I'm oppressed in the day and the night. And though day and night are enemies, they've agreed to shake hands and torture me, the day with hard work, and the night with thoughts about how far away you are from me. I try to tell the day about you by saying how bright you are, so bloody bright that you take the place of the sun when the clouds cover the sky. Then I tell the night about you by telling it how much you brighten the sky when the stars aren't shining. But, annoyingly, the day makes me sad, and the night prolongs the sadness. Well, well, who is this mystery, shadowy figure? And they seem to be a little bit put off by Shakespeare's poems recently. Will Sonnet 28 somehow win them over? Or will they become disinterested and stop sending letters back to Shakespeare? Find out next week. Bye!